My name is Sean. I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today I'm joined by Zach Rosenfield from Microsoft, who will cover Meet AI in SharePoint. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in conversation about today's webinar and more on X. Our handle is at ESPC_community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC26. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which updates the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeup.com, and clicking Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Agent Glow Up, from Symbol Agent to Automation Pro with Joseph Griffin, MVP. This will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, 12th of May, 11 a.m. CST. For more information on this webinar, please check out www.espc.tech/learning hub. Join us at ESPC 26 this November in Amsterdam. The newly announced program features 120 plus sessions across 9 expert-led tracks covering Microsoft 365, Copilot, AI, Power Platform, security, governance, agents, and more, including real-world insights from Microsoft experts and MVPs. Super Early Bird tickets available until May 26th. Use code COPILOTWEEK for additional savings and book using the QR code. Early Bird sale ends Friday, 15th of May. Secure your ticket to EPPC 26 today and expand your knowledge across Power Apps, Copilot Studio, Copilot, AI, Power Automate, Security, and Dynamics 365. Use code COPILOTWEEK for extra savings and scan the QR code to book now. After the webinar, we'll have a questions and answers session. Type any questions you might have into the chat box. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass over to today's webinar presenter. Hello, Zach. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining. I'm here to talk to you about AI in SharePoint. So we're gonna spend the next hour. I'm going to go over a few things, show a demo, and talk through the latest and greatest in AI in SharePoint. And hopefully by the end of it, you're excited enough to either try it, or if you've already tried it, try something new, because it's pretty amazing what all you can do with the product. My name is Zach Rosenfield. I run the product management team for SharePoint AI. I also post online pretty frequently on the topic. You can find me on LinkedIn at Z Rosenfield or on YouTube at Z Rosenfield as well. So if you are excited about what you see today and want to learn more, I have lots online. So we're going to first just give a really brief overview, and then I'm going to kick straight into the demo because I just think that's the easiest way to sort of see what we're talking about. But AI in SharePoint is really this new way of doing work where you set the intent and then SharePoint will do the work. And so this really comes across in 4 different themes. First is turning your ideas into execution. This is the ability to talk to SharePoint, that can be verbally or in typing, but being able to use your natural language to really interact with the SharePoint product. So it's the same product under the hood, but it's an all new way of working with it. Second is to shift from asking questions about your content to actually asking the AI agent to do work. AI in SharePoint is essentially a worker agent. It's able to iterate and do tasks. If you're familiar with Copilot Chat versus Copilot Cowork, it's a little bit more in the cowork sense where it can be assigned a task and actually go deliver outcomes for you. You also can teach your AI how your team works. There are context files, there are skills. This is the ability for you to tell the AI not to, think across all that it's been trained across the internet, but to actually know how your team does work, sort of like you would with a new employee who showed up on their first day. And then all of this is tied to the idea of leveraging this AI to be a content curator for your business. This makes all of your AI experiences better. It's never been truer. The ability to manage your content helps empower your AI experiences to be smarter and better. So the garbage in, garbage amplified is never been more real. And so it's really important to actually make sure your data is not garbage, that it's well manicured and ready for AI consumption. So I think the best place for us to really kick off actually is with a demo of what we're talking about. And so I'm going to switch screens. Give me 1 second. All right. So here we are in just a regular SharePoint site, and what you see in this bottom right corner is this floating action button. And this floating action button is your entry point to AI in SharePoint. And the best thing about it is that it is contextually aware. So here you see I am looking at a landing page for this Zava Deals Room site, and it gives me options like summarize this page or improve this site because I am a site owner. This menu is contextually aware to where I'm at. And so I'm going to jump over to a portal page where it's got a bunch of information about who we are as a team. And again, the floating action button gives me options relevant to that page. So summarize, listen to an audio overview, and the like. If I jump over to a product inventory list, the floating action button is an easy way to get into the chat experience, but I can go ahead and interact with my content. And so here you can see what is out of stock this week. It actually can look at this column and find things that are out of stock. Or I'm going to go ahead and actually just ask it in plain English to add a new item to this inventory list. So add the athletic raincoat. And then I ask it to color code the in-stock column. So these are all things I've always been able to do, but I had to know how to do them. Because it is creating something, it asks me to confirm as a human. So it won't do work without me. But just like that, athletic raincoat has been added to our list. And we can see it's marked in stock, which is now color-coded red for out of stock and green for in stock. I didn't provide much detail. I obviously could have provided a much more complicated prompt. I can sort of just use English to control the system. But let's keep moving forward and talk about how to actually do bigger, more complicated things. And so I'm going to go back to our Deals Room site, and I'm going to ask a much more complicated prompt, which is to create a document library called Deal Contoso. So this is going to be a deal room for our integration or our deal with Contoso. I wanted to create legal, sales, commercial, and meeting notes folders. And I wanted to copy all the templates from the templates folder into this library. So complicated prompt, and then finally navigate me to the library when you're done. And so I'm going to hit go. And what you'll see is that worker agent. So it's not that it has a preset script of steps that it's going to take. It's going to interpret what I told you. It's going to go ahead and start iterating through those tasks. So created a library. It found 2 templates in the templates folder. It's going to copy them over, and then it's going to take us there. And we can see here it is. It took a little bit of liberty with color coding, legal blue, sales is green, and so forth. But now I've created this deal room format that I want my company to use. And the best part is I don't actually want to have to educate employees in the company what it means to create a deal room. And so I can actually just say, hey, this process we just went through, I want you to save that as a skill. And this is my favorite way to create skills. I do the thing with AI, and then I say, take everything you just learned and save that as a skill. And so it created this setup deal room. It creates a new deal room for a given deal name. And so now people just have to say deal room with the deal name, and they'll create one. So I'll go ahead and say, yes, I want to create that deal room. And it's going to save that as a file. So I can go and review or edit this deal room. I can also just ask AI to change, hey, add a 5th folder or whatever I might need. But right now, what I can do is actually just show you how easy it is now to create a deal room here at Zava. I just have to say, make a new deal room for Fabricam and go. And this is going to go ahead and do the same process that I typed out in that big prompt. Now it's just in plain English. I need a new deal room. I don't have to know what that entails. And it's going to go ahead and create a new library and take me there. And so here we are. We're in Fabricam now. It looks exactly like the last one. But we did that by just saying, I need a new deal room. And now anyone at the company can come to the deal room site, say, I need a deal room, and they're here. Now we're going to show the next layer of detail by jumping into the future. So here we are in a slightly sort of more forward deal room site where all of these deals have already happened, and we've been using this deal room experience for a few quarters now. And you can see, so I've got my original folders, another folder has been added, and then we've gone ahead and actually filled in some of these business cases and additional information. But what that lets us do is actually say, okay, across all of the deals in this site, I need to unpack them. I need to know what's going on with my company and our deals. And so I can use that floating action button to open up chat. And I want to create a report that recaps all the brand deals for the fiscal year to date. So this is going to actually iterate through every single one of those deal rooms one at a time, pull in all of the information and numbers that it can find relative to all of those deal rooms, and then it's going to generate a report. And I've already created a skill for how I want that report to look, but you can generate a report just by asking it. It'll use its own styling. I really want things to be beautiful though, so I'm going to go ahead and leverage a skill to make sure that it's got the information that I want and I expect. We can see a little bit of a summary here of what it generated. It says it is 29.3 million in pipeline deals and a bunch of information, but let's just go look at the report. This will be better. Here's the one we've created, and we can see this report. This is an HTML file just viewed in the viewer here inside of SharePoint, but it means I can share this report just like I would with any other file in SharePoint, but it has the pipeline of all of the deals that have happened, who the leaderboards are, what's closing soon, active deals with ratings. I can browse across the report and go to different pages where I've outlined different sets of information. This is just defined using English in a skill, but it is able to generate this from the real data, the live data inside of SharePoint. So all of this is done by just creating skills, which live in the agent assets library here inside of SharePoint. And skills are just a folder, so I can ACL these to different users. I can see versioning and changes just like I would with regular files. Governance is done like you would with any other file inside of SharePoint. But you can see the different skills we have, like create deal room, which we created a little earlier, but then also the deal room report, which I use to actually generate those things. I can create press releases from them. There's really sort of no limit to what you can do. Anything you can do with SharePoint, you can set up a skill to make sure it is repeatable. And so it's just, in the end of the day, it's just English. It's just a scripting through Markdown. You can see sort of an easier to read format on the right. And then there's a full edit view where you can see all of the elements related to that file and what it's used for. Okay, I'm going to go back to slides. I know that was a lot in a very little bit of time, and so partly we're going to talk through sort of what we learned and expand on those things. But that was just a little bit of a hint of what you can do with AI and SharePoint. And then there's really anything you can imagine with files on top of your data, you can do with the new system. So first thing is turning ideas into execution. We are using English to describe what we want, whether that is a library with a set of workflows. Views is one of my favorite things to work with. I post a lot of videos about this. You can style views, you can set up different filters. You just have to describe what you want and let the AI interpret that into SharePoint for you. And partly the goal here is to make everyone a maker. SharePoint has incredible powers in terms of the ability for you to pivot and understand your data. And so we really want people to be able to do that. And AI helps us bridge from the complexity to everyone can do it. And so, one of the great examples here is creating columns and creating auto extracting columns. That is a thing that required expertise and understanding. Now you can just say, hey, I just want to sort all of these files by the team that owns them. Well, you have to pull that data out of the file and then create a view to group by them. Those are things that, if you're a SharePoint expert, you understand how to do, but if you're a regular user, you might not. It's now just a matter of saying what you need. Second thing is to move from asking to assigning work. This is really where it executes on content. So you can stay organized. This is some of my favorite examples. You can define standardized way of storing your content, and you can ask AI to go ahead and sort that content, to rename that content, to move stuff around, fix up broken links, identify content gaps. These are all just challenges that today have to be done by hand. And tomorrow you can let SharePoint's AI really handle that process for you. And so this really reduces friction across the board and allows you to do multi-step content work just from natural language. So especially in the organizing, maintenance of content space, please give it a shot with AI. I think you'll never want to go back. And then I really briefly hit on skills, but I can't stress how amazing skills are. These are the things that really take all of this AI stuff from demoware to real work. It really is about being able to define it once and then having the AI repeat that manual process over and over and over. And so if you are generating meeting notes, if you are outputting PR documents, if you're trying to cite sources, if you have a standardized way of naming files, anything where you have a process that you would show a new employee how to do it and then ask them, okay, great, every time a file of this type comes in, I want you to do that same thing. You can now let your AI do that sort of laborious work, and you can teach it by giving it context and skills to allow it to do that work over and over. And so I could go on for a really long time on all the different ways to leverage skills, whether that's making your AI more like a deterministic flow. So that's about generating documents in the same way every time. That is about doing reviews of content. So this deck, making sure that I don't put any NDA material in this deck, because this is a wide open webinar. That is a skill that I can actually run against my content right in place. And so I have been generating skills every time I do something where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this on every one of these files, or every time I do X. That's an opportunity to really codify it into a skill. And then, like I mentioned, better content quality just makes for better AI output. And so Copilot speaks SharePoint fluently. If you spend the time to have metadata, it makes AI smarter. I have, again, I won't go into it here, but we have evidence. I have a video on this where just even extracting information from files will make your AI smarter. And this really just it's just sort of like organizing your room. So if you think of files as all of the files in a filing cabinet, I think that there's been a little bit of this framing that, hey, AI is here. I don't need to organize my content anymore. It'll just find it for me. And the reality is that AI is doing work in a similar pattern to how humans would go through and actually find it. Now, it's doing it for you, it's doing it faster, but the better organized your content is, the better it can do at reasoning over the 18 different copies of something that you have, and helping the AI understand that underscore final and underscore final v2, those documents are different iterations of the same file. Still having all those copies actually puts AI at a disadvantage versus a well-organized data set. And so AI here can really help, and we've built a bunch of tools into the system to do some of those processes for you automatically. We'll go into the capabilities and just sort of a little bit on timing, because we're shipping things very, very quickly, and we have a tendency, I guess, to change the name every so often, and that can add to some of the confusion. So we shipped a public preview in September. We called that the Knowledge Agent, and it was contextually aware Q&A, as well as some early constructs in terms of generating and managing your content. That was very focused on that content curator mode, helping you to organize your files and folders, helping you with sites and pages. But it was pretty limited in terms of what it could do. It was coded to specific use cases. In March, we refreshed that with a full orchestrator model. So this means it is an orchestrator plus tools, which if you're familiar with like a Claude Code or Copilot Cowork, anything in that sort where you have a harness that is iterating with a set of tools, very similar in terms of pattern. And so out of the box, it's this set of capabilities around libraries, documents, lists, all the main constructs you have in SharePoint, and the ability to ask it to do work. And it will iterate and try. And it's kind of amazing. You'll see it attempt and fail. I tried to do it that way, didn't work. Let me try something else. It really is like a new hire who just showed up at your place of work. You gave it a task, and it's going to try things, and it might get stuck and ask you for help or assistance or clarity. But for the most part, it's just sort of a worker agent that knows a lot about the universe, doesn't necessarily know your business, And that's where we just rolled out skills a couple of weeks ago. It's ability to give those tools that we talked about. We also added context. This is something, a SharePoint.markdown.md file that lives also in that agent assets library. That is context that you can give your agent, like who its boss is, what team it's on, what its role is, things you want it to know and understand. So you can say things like, our fiscal year is July, starts in July, and now you don't have to tell it that every single time, it just knows. And so those things are freshly rolled out. There is also a set of document generation work that is just getting rolled out now. And so that's sort of coming for the rest of this month. It will start to light up around organizing your library with file skills, rename, move, copy, the ability to generate content. That was that HTML generation or generating a Word press briefing. And then you can also do new levels of processing content at scale. This means asking a question of like, how many of these documents in a library of 100,000 items? It actually can do that using some client-side caching and some processing so that you're not having to pull everything into the context window. So some of the limitations you've seen in chat-based products, we can actually work around that in the cloud. So let's talk a little bit about some of those capabilities just to dig in a little bit further on what can be done. So document libraries. Best thing to do is just describe what you want and have it actually extract the information and build the different views and pivots and workflows on top of it that you need using natural language. So we are have for a while had the ability to extract metadata automatically. These are autofill columns is the name they go by in SharePoint. But you can give this example here on the right of help me organize this library of invoices, make it easy for the different cost centers to see key details related to their invoices. I need to easily see when information is missing, like transaction date, vendor name, and cost center, so I can follow up with the right people for corrections. This is me describing the outcome that I want, not the things that I want the SharePoint to do for me. And so this is key. I don't have to speak SharePoint. I just have to say, what's the task that I've been given, and how can the set of content here help me to achieve that task? And so that will automatically get transitioned into this view here of expenses, where it has extracted those different columns that it thinks are relevant. It has gone ahead and formatted, so you can see missing key details. It picked out of it, I need to easily see, and said, you know, let's go ahead and do some color coding and some highlighting. And so you can actually see the missing key details column is highlighted. There's green for none missing. And then even better, when it's missing key details, it actually tells me what it is. So that one prompt turned a basic list of files into something that I can group into different cost centers, that I can see what's missing, and I can actually browse that information. And then because all that stuff is extracted, even if there was 10,000, 20,000 files in this library, finding transactions above some amount or asking how much by a certain cost center, et cetera, all of that can actually be accurately answered quickly by AI. Lists, sort of the same deal. You can use natural language to create, edit, and manage lists. And I've never used lists so much in my life as I have since they are integrated with the AI product. So you can start with an Excel list or some other output. So here's a list of all of the customer reported issues. I need to create a list of these so I can track them down. Anything of that sort, you can start from a piece of file content. I could ask, or even internet content. I could say, hey, what are all the conferences happening this year on AI in the West Coast of the United States? It'll build that list, and I can save that into a list. So here again, I'll use this example. Multi-turn reasoning says, help me create a project tracking list from this XLT. My team will use this to ensure our release is on track and make it easy to see different statuses, highlight items that are at risk, and create a specific view for things that need attention. And this will, in maybe a minute, end up in pulling all that data into this list. You can actually see there's a needs attention view that has been added right next to that all items. And here on the list we're looking at, we can see color coding for status as well as highlighting for items that are at risk. And so I can spend a lot of time going back and forth on how I want to see things and the like, but even just that simple prompt went from nothing to this formatted list, multiple views, and pretty easy to see what needs attention. Same thing again with pages and sites. I can give a set of content. I can state what I want on output, and the last 10 years worth of innovation on pages and portals can be pulled directly into my experience. And so generating pages for my intranet has never been easier. There are amazing things and controls that we have built over time that folks needed to understand. Now you just state what you want. I need a carousel. I want to have 5 options. Whatever you might need, it'll go ahead and build out that structure using natural language. You can do big prompts. I've done 1-page long prompts that take 10 minutes and builds the whole thing for me, or you can do it iteratively in pieces. We are also actively rolling out, I think maybe 10% of customers have it today. The rest should have it in the next couple of weeks. This AI-powered site builder. So again, describe the solution you need, and you can work with our AI to actually turn that into a site structure. So that's creating a site, creating the lists and libraries, creating the folders and structured columns that you might need. It's really just helping you to stitch all that together in a way where we can actually help you brainstorm the process. And so it'll actually give you ideas as to what else you might want to do in your journey to creating that new site. So a little bit just sort of site templates of the future might be a way to describe the experience. I have talked about it a few times, but I can never get enough of AI context and skills. This is the most critical piece. So when you get any piece of AI into your system, it knows nothing about you. It knows nothing about your business or your processes. And context and skills are the 2 best mechanisms to turn this from a generic agent into an agent that really understands you and your business. And so really, really critical thing to learn. I posted a blog a couple of weeks ago when they went into public preview. You can get there, aka.ms/SP skills. But the highest level here is you have the ability to codify your business into repeatable tasks. The best part is once you do that at a site level, your users don't need to know that they have skills available to them. They will ask for things, they will do work, and the skills will be pulled automatically. And so, I love doing this for things like style and tone, things like brand compliance, ensuring that we do, instead of me looking at this deck for each individual piece of brand compliance, I can download the Microsoft brand compliance once, and on behalf of every user, have that automatically applied to every deck put into a location. Or even, validating things before we send them along. So, you can create skills to have reviewers for different parts of your process, or generators for different parts of your process. And so I just can't stress enough how critical these are into turning AI into something that will help you to generate and have output that is useful to your business and will actually help you to save time using the AI in your system. And then where we're headed, things that are coming here in May and June, these are all things that we have announced and are just working their way through our quality checks on our way to you. So visuals and reports. I showed one in that demo, but generating graphs, charts, interactive reports to present data and insights. This is one of my favorite new features. You can go ahead, it's coming up on screen. You can generate these both against a live file. So you can connect one of these to an Excel spreadsheet, or you can generate them based on some running across all the data in a folder or a library. You can actually have one of these built with complex math and the like, generating insights. I just think it's incredibly powerful to generate on the fly an HTML page that can essentially have any sort of interactive chart or understanding. So if you want to build modelers, if you wanted it to generate a physics game, you really sort of, sky's the limit. Anything you can do with HTML and JavaScript, you can do here. Second thing is file creation, Word, Excel, PowerPoint files, also PDFs, images, Markdown files. A bunch of those things are all coming. to your AI and SharePoint here in the next month or so. These, again, just super powerful to be able to turn a piece of content into other types of content for sharing, and in particular for helping with automating a piece of your process. So, if you're generating RFPs, requests for purchase, as part of your workflow or your process, you can now do that with a simple skill and prompt to generate a similar style format every single time. And then the last thing is really getting into automation. So as part of helping you to build your business processes, we are building tools into the AI to help you set up business processes and interact with them directly through chat. So right now you can only do basic rules, but what's coming is the ability to add quick steps to set up more complicated rules and drive business process workflows just with natural language. And so this is bringing those tools so that you can integrate the whole system end to end just by describing intent. And that's really where the key comes in. You don't have to know how the system works. You just have to be able to describe what outcomes you want, and the AI will help you get there. So I like to talk throughout, but I think it's best to really think in specifics, in ways in which teams can use the AI and SharePoint to get work done. And so the flexibility of the system is both a blessing and a curse. It can do so many things, but it means you have to actually be able to visualize how it might be helpful to you and how you're trying to use it. And so just sort of talking across different verticals and how it can get use, or how people are using it today already to help their teams. You've got things like in IT where you're identifying outdated content or missing surface areas, helping you to keep your sites healthy. You've got HR where you're tagging policies or using taxonomy across your content for finding content that maybe needs an update or has compliance risk. Legal, I mean, the endless use cases in legal, from classifying your content, extracting key phrases, helping you to identify contracts. Say you're in a legal dispute and you need to understand across a large array of contracts how many times you've had any interaction with this vendor or provider. And so being able to do that type of research across your content. You can't rely on a chat system, which is using search, especially if you're looking for negative, which of these contracts do not. The chat systems don't really work for that. You need a worker agent. You need something like Cowork or AI and SharePoint to iterate through that content. And you can leverage skills and context to provide business understanding as well. Communications and marketing, this is where you can help with publishing quality content. You can help your team by generating skills to have repeatable outputs. So you can generate a flyer and you let your users customize maybe the date and the activity, but the actual format of the flyer and what's in it needs to be consistent, and you can define that on behalf of your company and allowing for self-service of content. Operations and facilities, you've got lease applications, contracts. Your metadata can help you to organize all of that information and really help you to manage a large-scale operation. And then again, in sales, so many use cases, from generating content to helping you to be more efficient or find the right answers for customers, keeping that content up to date so you're not sharing old roadmaps or driving old processes. And then just the endless examples, but we are seeing AI-powered workflows as well with real customers today. Things like content and knowledge management, helping them to manage their content in new and transformational ways. Contractor compliance, this is helping you to review content every single time you need to go deal with a contractor or sign a new deal. There is clinical trial screening. You can integrate this with all sorts of information to help you to accelerate that process. We have folks using this in change management, risk management, and proposal automation. These are just trying to give you ideas. This is the paradox of choice of AI. Allows you to do so many things that it's really just great to see examples and real use cases from the wider ecosystem, so you can leverage that or think about how does that apply to you, or where are some places you can use it. And then again, this is all one product. And so the more places you can bring this product in to solve business use cases, the less you might need one-off bespoke solutions. And this is all built on top of SharePoint with its governance, security, compliance controls that you're familiar with. So how do you get started? I said I was going to try to get you excited about it, and then I was going to hope that by the end of this, you were saying, I'm going to go try it out. So first off, it is a opt-in public preview today. That means that if you have Copilot in your organization, you can add these capabilities to your Copilot users. You can go to aka.ms/SPAI opt-in. So that is SPY, SPAI opt-in. You go there, you enable this. You can enable it for specific sites, for all users except certain sites. You sort of have some flexibility on how you want to turn this on. But the key thing is you have to turn this on to get any of these capabilities. Because it is the same chat window that you're used to, it can be a lot of confusion. This is not custom agents, which are Copilot chat pre-scoped to a set of content in SharePoint. This is AI in SharePoint, which is a new thing. You have to go turn that on in order to get skills and all of those capabilities. It will not change the behavior of any custom agents that you've created or any agents you have grounded on SharePoint content. Those things are Copilot chat scoped to a set of content in SharePoint. This is a new thing. This is a worker agent, much more akin to Copilot Cowork, as I mentioned. You can also read up on it. The original announcement in March was part of our SharePoint 25th birthday. So aka.ms/sp@25/blog. And then I mentioned the skills blog as well that I wrote, which really goes into how to leverage skills to solve business processes. It's again all about that customization, making it for your business and helping it to understand how you like to do work so that it can replace those manual steps for you that you have to do over and over. To onboard, the SharePoint AI will meet users where they are. So the key thing here is it is context aware. So if you're looking at a library and you have the right permissions to modify things, it will show up like this window on the left side. If you don't have access to create columns or create new views, it will just show you things around opening chat and having a conversation. You can start to ask questions. So it adapts to the content you're looking at and the permissions you have on that. It's also, you can just talk to it. One of the best things about AI here is that you can just ask it, what can you do? What can't you do? Why did you do it that way? What skills did you run? Any questions you have, you can just ask it and it will go ahead and provide you that information. And so helping encourage your users to just ask questions about what it can do. And then our tip for builders, anyone who saw this and said, oh, I really want to generate Word docs, and you said that's coming soon. How do I know when that's available? -- agent tools will actually build this pretty view for you here right in the chat pane, which shows you all the tools that are available to you in that context. And so this will give you a list of tools. If you have the ability to create content in that context, then you should see the document tools if they're available to you. And so this is a way to both see how the tools change as your permissions or your context changes, but also for you to understand what's available to you today. And so -- agent tools, a little bit of I'll say an Easter egg style integration where you have access to see what's available to you in the system today. And if that returns nothing, you're probably in a custom agent or you haven't turned on AI in SharePoint for your tenant. In terms of prompting, this is all using a reasoning model. So it is not just sort of getting a little advanced here for a second. A lot of chat is done where it branches. It decides whether to put you into a reasoning model or to put you into a chat model. Chat models are just having a conversation and they're answering you, based on some grounding, whether that's maybe a file in SharePoint or a search that it did. But it's a pretty short, quick experience and it has a start and an end. Reasoning, it's going to think about how to solve that problem. And so you actually want to do some experimentation for yourself to see how to set outcome-driven prompts. And there is an art to this, but as the models get smarter, it's less important that you be super specific. But it's a good thing to get a feel for as the model will do more and more for you, so you get a feel for how well you can do it. So specific prompts are great. You get exactly what you're looking for. Abstract prompts can be useful if you don't really know what you want, but you're kind of leaving it all up to the model to make decisions for you. And in things of style in particular, you kind of getting out there, because it's not like the model has a sense of taste. Rather, it understands styles and can apply whatever it feels is appropriate at that moment. And so I recommend giving it a nudge, in particular if you're going to give it a styling thing, but experiment, give it a little shot. The best thing to do is really be outcome driven. So avoiding being overly specific, because sometimes the model will come up with a better way to solve than you necessarily would have. So if you don't need those exact columns, rather you want it to understand what you're trying to achieve, I recommend learning how to do outcome-driven prompts. This is where you actually say what you're trying to get out of it, and then letting the AI really cook, letting it figure out what are all the things that it thinks you need in order to achieve that goal. And that, these prompts here are done on an individual library, but as you scale up your problem set, you start to think about a complete solution, this is where the AI can really shine, and you can give it opportunity to suggest not just libraries and structure, but skills you might need, context it should have, workflows you might need to set up. And so it can actually build that whole view for you by being outcome driven. We're going to close up and give up a little bit for questions, but I want to also encourage, we do have an early adopter program. Since we are still in preview, there is a way to opt into our early adopter process. You get access to our team. So folks on both my team and on the engineering team will run bi-monthly sessions where we will talk about the different products that we're using and give you ideas and examples, accelerate your adoption. We'll try to actually help you get this into your company or your business in new ways. And it's an opportunity for you to give us feedback. So aka.ms/join SharePoint AI. Can't encourage this enough. We are here to help you in your success, and then you can also help influence us in terms of what we are building and the new capabilities we're trying to add. And we've been adding them very, very quickly. There are also additional tools to help you on your journey. Fast Track. There is an adoption.microsoft.com hub with links and information. And then there are events and knowledge in our community. That is where those blog posts are, for example. So these are just places you can track for the future. And then there is a learning channel. But I will stop pointing links at you, and I will head over to the chat.
Yeah, I can do the questions for you if you want. So the first question is, how does it disambiguate the skill name from the underlying meaning of the term? Is there an undo?
Yes. So the skill. So first off, our skills format. I am seeing my camera lag, so I hope you're all seeing me okay.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit.
Skill. Okay. Wow, it's really rough.
I can hear you perfectly though.
Okay. So the high level thing, first of all, our skills format is following the Anthropic open standard. So anything you do in terms of understanding skills, it's the same for SharePoint's AI as well as it is in the wider ecosystem. So we use this thing called a YAML front matter, which sits at the very top of the document. And it's less about the name of the skill and more about the description underneath. The description actually says, when the user says anything about X, Y, or Z, this is when you use this skill. And so the key thing is, yes, if there is ambiguity between two of your skills, that they basically seem to say the exact same thing, then the AI in SharePoint will struggle a little bit to pick one. And you're a little bit sort of leaving it up to the model to decide as to which one is the right thing in that moment or context. They are just files, and so you can open them up in that markdown viewer that I was showing in the demo, and you can edit them to your heart's content. So you can do it that way. You can also actually talk to SharePoint, say, update the skill for XYZ. And so, yes, I wouldn't say there's necessarily an undo so much as you can just interact with AI in SharePoint, and it will go ahead and modify that skill as you see fit. And so that's a good way for you to just sort of, I won't get into eval, but you can really play with the different framings of your intent, and then based on that, you can actually ask the AI to update the skills so that, it gets called when you say X, but not called when you say Y. And so you can actually sort of iterate with it on how to do that description to get the right skill to get called.
Perfect. Next question is, can you enable the agent where in the Frontier program, but still haven't seen this drop directly in SharePoint?
Yes, so that is where the SharePoint opt-in link that I was giving earlier, let me make sure I get that exactly right. It is not in Frontier. This is not a per user feature. Rather, because of SharePoint and our somewhat unique nature, it is per site or tenant. And so it has to be enabled in a slightly different way. It is aka.ms/spai opt-in. It is a standalone PowerShell command to have you define your scope as to whether you want it to apply to your whole tenant or only certain parts of your tenant. And so it has its own on-off switch you have to go leverage.
Perfect. I'll just check the next question. So the next question is, can we call the agent as a sub-agent from a main agent in Copilot Studio or AI Foundry, in brackets, AI workflow?
So this is where there's sort of two big differences in terms of AI as a whole. There are chat systems and there are agent harnesses, and this AI is in the agent harness world of work. So at a high level, Copilot and the Copilot chat, it can't really integrate directly with this. And at least today, Copilot Studio, no direct integration with this. We are looking at bringing our tools to other agent harnesses. So Cowork and certain parts of AI Foundry or Copilot Studio may be able to leverage tools in the future. But today there's no sort of agent to agent communication model. And most of the Copilot agents are somewhat different in that they're chat agents versus agent harnesses. But Cowork is a good example of something where we want to integrate so that you can leverage those systems with our tools as well. But nothing today.
Perfect. The next question is, can it do changes at the tenancy level, i.e. content tagging? Is there an audit trail?
So audit trail is the easier one, so I'll start there. It acts as the user. It will ask the user to confirm. So you saw that human in the loop when I tried to create an item on the list. So the user is taking accountability for the actions. And so the audit trail would look like anything done with an agent. So I believe in your purview logs, for example, you will see both that a human did it and that it was done using AI. So you get a little bit of the two flavors. I'm not going to talk to the specifics there, but high level, everything is tracked using auditing in the same way that it would if I did it manually, but there are extra flags to let you know it was done via an agent. On the tenancy level, i.e. content tagging. So it can leverage things like taxonomy. So it has access to stuff across your system. You can ask it to read information across the system. So at a high level, yes, but I'll say the specifics matter there. So it kind of depends on what thing it is you're trying to go access. The AI in SharePoint has access to some parts of the system, not necessarily all parts of the system. So for example, it knows you can ask it about your management chain, but I don't know that you can ask it about, somebody else's management chain. So they're just sort of specifics as to what skills we've given it. That's where the tools really matter and where we need feedback. So the more you tell us, oh, it's really important that I have the ability to access X, Y, Z, it can leverage those pieces. What it cannot do, it does not act as a standalone agent. So today, it only ever acts as you. So it doesn't have access to anything that you don't have access to, and it cannot do actions on its own behalf. So it does not have its own access controls or permissions of any sort. So it is dependent on what you have access to do.
Perfect. The next question is, will the site creation take the look and feel of other sites in my tenant into account? For example, if I already have 3 project sites that look kind of the same, Will it create something that has the same look, or will it ignore other sites?
So that's where, so by default, I think the new employee model is the best way to think of it. By default, it'll do what a new employee would do and just create a new site because it doesn't know any better. And that's where skills come in. So creating a skill that says style a site to have X, Y, Z is a great use case for skills, where you can say, hey, anytime I create a new site, I'm going to want to run this skill. And then you can leverage that skill to style out your site, create the default content, whatever it is you want to do. And so that's, sort of the model here is teaching AI through skills and context files. New sites today, the preview does not pull in skills automatically. They have to be deployed manually after the site is created. But that is sort of, I think, an obvious next step in terms of being able to leverage skills as part of the site creation as well to help you teach the AI about your styling and drive consistency.
Perfect. The next question there is, are there additional licensing costs?
It's a preview. I'll make the usual preview caveats, but right now it is all just a part of the Copilot license. So if you have a Copilot license is required. If you have a Copilot license and you turn this on using that PowerShell command I mentioned earlier, then these features will show up and there's no additional licensing cost.
Perfect. The next question is, MCPs haven't been covered today. The model chat user interactions seen today are directly integrated. Are there plans for a SharePoint MCP service supported by Microsoft, example for writing own agents?
So I'd strongly recommend looking at WorkIQ. I do not know what I am allowed or not allowed to say today at this moment relative to WorkIQ. So I will just say WorkIQ is our API interface for interacting with content in SharePoint, and we are exposing capabilities via WorkIQ to help you leverage a bunch of the awesome stuff that we have in your own agents. So our overarching goal here is not to say that this client is the end-all be-all client. Obviously, a bunch of what I showed today is built into the SharePoint UI interface. But I'll just say, like, vision-wise, our vision here is the ability for you to leverage those capabilities using whatever AI endpoints you want. And WorkIQ is our main path towards connecting. I won't be specific on MCP versus not MCP either. There's a lot of hot debate in the industry about MCP versus creating skills versus some newer methods that are coming up. But just at strategically, we're very excited to provide all of the capabilities we discussed in whatever endpoint to whatever agents you have. And that is where those two worlds combine for sort of that earlier question about tenant-wide action. We want to bring these capabilities to your agents wherever they are, and then you can give those agents a persona and permissions to allow it to do things across your ecosystem. Because if you're going to have a content curator, you might want one that's autonomous and not require that, like, I go use my permissions to keep things up to date. You might want to have one that comes and, is your data made for your content. And so that will be our path to enabling some of those cool scenarios.
Perfect. Looks like that's all the questions. So on behalf of the ESPC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you, Zach, for taking time out today, Carl's webinar. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
So that's the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/research center. Thanks again for all of you for joining us today, and I hope you join us again soon. Take care.